Greetings, Internet. Good to be back. It's been a little while. We knew it was going to slow down a little bit over here on my side. That's no secret. But it has been a couple weeks since I put one out, I think. But we have I feel like every time I go a while, or half my videos I start with, we got a special one for you today. But it is a special one today. So I don't know if, you know, it's like The Incredibles. If everybody's special, does that mean that no one is? Or I don't know. But it is. This is definitely a special one. Before we get into it, we're not going to talk about beer too much, but I do have a beer because I like enjoying a beer. And this is going to be a WooSah video, and you know, they're pretty family friendly over there. I don't think they mind too much about enjoying a little beer here and there. But in particular, I've talked about this one before. I'm 99% sure I had Sip of Sunshine on here. Yeah, I actually had another beer I almost wanted to grab, but I just really wanted to drink this. But I got this thing here. Now this was kind of a surprise. This just came in the mail. It either came with my Ohana, and I might have mentioned it, or it just got set separately, and I was kind of surprised. But this is from Josh Stroud over at the Wolfpack EDC. Design, the popper. Material 1/4 inch stainless steel, 32818, serial number 73. And yeah, check this out. Dear Timothy, while talking to your buddy Chris Branch, he mentioned he thought you could use a popper. You told us you still use a lighter to pop tops, and although we think that's pretty cool, we thought you might enjoy this too. Howl on, Josh. Now they seem like he's got a nice little following. They've got a pretty nice group. It almost seems like the WooSah of EDC stuff. And I just wanted to talk about this for a second because I didn't know this was coming, completely out of the blue, didn't ask for anything, just sent it to me. So yeah, this is actually really nice. So we've got a couple things going on here. One, you've got this little wrench thing that I'm not sure the size of it. Certainly could be used as a wrench, but it actually fits like those little hex bits. You know, like say we would normally see in a, you know, like a screwdriver that has a, you know, replaceable bits. So that's kind of cool. It's got this little knurled inside here to, you know, twist off the top of a bottle. It's got this little thing to actually pop the top off a bottle. And then I don't know if it's intended for this or not, but I was like, let me just see if I can find something that like can get in there and do this. And look at this. I'm going to bump the camera doing this, but this just gets right in here, and I should be able to, yeah, look at that. And then, that amber fluid. The old liquid courage. So, but let's talk about the finish on this too. Something I think is pretty cool, just a nice little attention to detail. It has a nice stone washed kind of finish on the top, and then it's machined down for the little, you know, paw claws, so it's got a nice little texture to it. But this feels real nice and smooth. It's just nice to run your hand over, and then, you know, what might be the rougher part of the bottom of the pads of the feet, it's got these cool, like, concentric little machine marks. So it's probably just, it looks like almost like a large bit, because you can see it almost looks like a full circle on the edge, the way this pattern overlaps itself. 73 stamped in there. I don't know if that was a mistake or they just kind of jammed on it. Either way, I'm fine with it. Again, it was free. I wasn't expecting anything. But yeah, and actually, I had a couple nights where rather than having something to fidget with, I just had this in my hands and I was just rubbing it and not really like spinning it, but just like manipulating it in my hands, you know, while watching a movie. And it was actually just kind of really nice to have and to handle. So, and it seems like again, this is, you know, on their Facebook, it seems like there's a bit of a demand for some of these. They make some other stuff. I joined their group. I didn't follow it too much, I'll be honest. But it just seems like a good group of people. So we spent 4 minutes already, longer than I wanted to spend, but I think it's worth it because it's just kind of a cool thing. And from the bottom of my heart, thanks. This is kind of a really cool thing. I really appreciate something like that. So thank you. So, and again, I didn't pay for that, but I did not ask for it and was not asked to do anything. It just kind of came in the mail. So, but what are we really here to talk about? That's right, Voda by WooSah. Copper, number 9. So I got it on the first run, so it's serialized. You got the Chris Branch signature. Like a ripple in water, the Voda seems simple at first glance. However, the life and intricacies that exist in each curve, flare, and flute offer a beauty and complexity that are difficult to replicate and understand. So that's going to come into this guy a little bit. So here ooh! Look at this case that comes in. Now, I like the Boss case because it had the light in it. But far and away, I appreciate this kind of case more. There's a little bit of room for the spinner to move in there. Excuse me, but not a ton. But it just looks good. And this is a like wristband that you can wear. It's actually made from recycled silicone, it says on the inside. on the web, WooSah USA, and then WooSah. Let's pop the top off this. So it's got these, it's nice, it's got these little cutouts here, you see that? So you can actually get your fingers in there to lift the lid off. It fits really snug. It just feels really good, and then, see that? See that? Like how snug that is? So now it just falls right out, but it gets in there just a little bit where if it doesn't come out completely straight, it can kind of catch in there, which is good. Oh, there you go. EcoBand, 100% recycled silicone. That's pretty cool. So yeah, really nice case. Appreciate that. Appreciate that touch. Woo! So this is copper. This is 29. And let's do this. I haven't weighed this yet. I was actually waiting to kind of review this video because the first thing I noticed when I took this out of the box was like, this is a lot heavier than I expected. Just looking at it, it didn't look like it should be that heavy, but 112 grams. There you go. So it is. It is a heavy one. We'll get that out of the way. So yeah, so let's take a look at this thing. The thing that kind of blew me away at this was just looking at all the different curves and stuff like that. And you know, I don't know enough about machining. Like from a design perspective, it seems like it's would be a bit of a hassle to get that many curves and flutes and what have you. But it just is, you know, it's just WooSah just continuing to push themselves. So I don't think, you know, when I think of WooSah, you know, Chris Branch just doesn't want to do the same thing over and over again. It seems like every run of WooSahs, he tries to do something different. And that's something, I guess is as good a time as any to bring it up since it's going to be a WooSah video. We're gonna fawn over them a little bit. And I don't have a huge, you know, my collection is nowhere near what like a lot of other people's are out there, but let's just take a look at a couple things here. So we got the Chakra. So they were making things like the Cosmos. You guys remember this? The first one I painted up. The original. So we got the Cosmos. We got the Namastes. Then they came out with the Chakra. This is on the first run of the Chakra, serial number 22. Thank you, Chris Branch. Then we've got, then they had the Kickstarter for the Boss. This thing is a boss. This thing's so heavy, such a beast. And then, it wasn't, where's my, I don't think I've got a bearing in it. Hang on, we need one. We're missing one. We're missing one. There it is. The double header. Yeah, the bearing situation is, there we go. So this one I played around with doing some customization because it just, again, this has probably been the least favorite one that I've had. But hammered it up. You know, I tried flaming it, I tried stone washing it, but I'm really liking the texture from the hammered. But yeah, so we got the double header. And then the Ataraxis. Look at that. Look at them dishes. Just looks good. So he's always trying something different. And then within these, like look at every other maker out there. It's something that, you know, the WooSah family, I don't need to tell them, but something I think just to appreciate. I think people think like, oh, the WooSah people are just such fanboys. And yeah, sure, there's a bit of fanaticism and fanboy and cult-like following, if you want to call it that. But the reality is, there's a reason to follow. Like, you can have 100 WooSahs and have them all different. Oh, how did we forget? The Ohana. I actually wanted to do this. Let's do this over here. Oops, I just knocked into another spinner that was sitting on the side. We'll let that just do its thing over there. My desk is a bit cluttered here, so we'll get the WooSahs going. WooSah. So set this up here. But yeah, so he does just so many different versions. Lately he's been doing a couple different things. The Ambassador line where they've got some cutouts kind of like near the middle. The Zaftig, I think is how you pronounce it, but they're just thicker with really nice rounding on them. And then the Airs where they're just really like hollowed and cut out, so it's really just the frame. So almost everything, the same shape is just cut out around the inside. And they're just very light. And then then there's mixes of those, right? So there's the Namaste, Elite, Zaftig, Air, you know? So Elite for the stainless steel, Namaste for the size, Zaftig for the thickness and roundness, and Air for the things cut out. So he just continues to kind of really do kind of really awesome, cool stuff over there. So that's kind of why we're all about it. But so this is just kind of like, it seems like, again, him just really challenging himself to come out with something and, you know, then offering it to us. So this is called the Voda, which means water. And if you look just on the card, where the hell did I put the card? Right over here. Sorry, where the heck did I put the card, right? You know, that's a water drop. Look at the reflection on this thing. I don't know if he named that after the fact, after he made it and saw, like, look at the reflections on there. It kind of looks like a rippling drop of water. Right? This thing's rad. So I've been spinning this thing nonstop since I got it. It's, you know, it's still like, you know, still honeymoon period for sure, but I think it's better than the Chakra. And that's pretty hard to do for me. There's still something about the Chakra when I feel it, but I don't know if it's like, I don't want to say like rose-tinted glasses and nostalgia, but this thing is pretty amazing. Now, this thing is pretty pricey, and maybe we should talk about that now. Let's actually talk about the design, and then hopefully we'll come back to the price. So let's look at the design of this. I'm going to take these, let's take a look at these buttons too. So these buttons have kind of like almost like a matte finish at this point. So it's somewhere between getting, I think, just a lot of micro scratches and patina. And then also, before I take this off, let's just give this one more spin here. The spin that I'm loving in this, when I actually got this, of course, it's a WooSah, so it has a 1-drop in it. But I tried a couple different bearings in there, and what I really, really like is Hekferula's, it's a HCS, so it's the hybrid ceramic, but it's the one with the, it's like the second version of it, and I forget if he's got like what his naming convention is for that one. Now, there's my serial number 9, but he's not serializing them anymore. It was just the first run that was serialized. So, but this is the one that has the super tight tolerances and actually pretty smooth, but has very little up and down play. WooSah's, he machines them pretty stringent and pretty tight tolerances on there. So especially the HC2 will cause the buttons to rub. That's really the only one I've really had issues with buttons rubbing on a WooSah is the HC2s. They just have the most play of any bearing I've used. So. And that's not a negative, it's just a statement or a fact, and I really like, oh, look at the reflection in there. I really like the play in the HC2s, but that's neither here nor there. So let's look at the machining on this. So you've got, it's actually, I didn't realize quite how much it's swelled out towards the outside, so the weight is actually distributed on the outside. Should be pretty decent for spin time, but it's also got a lot of mass in the middle. So I did throw an HC2 in here and get about 6.5 minutes on a table spin, but I don't think it was my best HC2, and I don't think it was super clean, but that's still pretty good. The bearing that's in here, which doesn't get that great of a spin time, got 3.5 minutes, which is almost exactly what I got testing it in something like this that I know gets pretty good spin time. So it seems like it's very comparable in spin time to the full-size Cortex. Oh, listen to that. That feels good. That's got, oh, I think that's got one in there too. Let me just look and see, because that's got some tight tolerances on that, and I don't think it's a 1-drop. Yeah, look at that. Do I know my bearings or what? It sounds like, oh, just a bunch of baloney. You can just say whatever you want about a bearing, but time and time again, I've proven, I'm actually surprised myself more is kind of why I'm stating it, that I can kind of tell like what bearings in something. Like go back and watch that, I think it was a Zero Feud thing where I was like, it kind of feels like an 8-ball, and then I opened it up, I'm like, oh, it is an 8-ball. So anyway, yeah, so look at the machining on this, would you, for a second. So there isn't hardly, you know, I think the only flat surface is on these sides, so it's essentially like a Namaste, is it a Namaste size too? Yeah, so it's essentially a Namaste size, but it's much thicker when you look at how much, let me put this here where you can see it. This has to be machined from a piece of metal at least, you know, this thick all the way across, where this can be like literally half the size. So you're essentially getting probably the material of 2 WooSahs in one, compared to something like that. So that's something to keep in mind, you know. But then look at, again, the curves, how this angles down on this side. Like watch the light reflect around here. Maybe there's a bit of a flat right here, but it kind of also is tapering more like, you know, downwards this way, where this is tapering upwards. There's just so much going on, so there's so many different little facets and planes and curves for the light to reflect on. This thing, when you've got a bunch of lights going on it, is where you get those really amazing light show patterns. And also, look, I love spinners that do this, where they kind of come up around the button a little. Actually, we're not going to put the buttons back on yet. But I really enjoy that. So, and actually here, let's do this before I get this. I want to get this out of the way. I hadn't even thought of it, and then a few people mentioned something like it being sort of like the atrium. And short of, you know, it's sort of being a triangle shape, you know, this isn't flat sides along here. You know, these kind of curve, it's kind of a curvature, a big curve in there, which WooSah was doing beforehand with that sort of finger groove in there. If you wanted to say something like that, this has that curve up in the middle, where this doesn't really have that. This curves downwards, where this one curves upwards. This has like a round curve. This has a flat face. So I've heard some people say some things about it being like an atrium, and it is almost in as many ways as possible different than an atrium. So maybe some slight similarities with way some of the light reflects off it in a couple places, but this is so different than this. And that's a good thing, and I still love this. This feels great. It's not a knock on this at all. I just kind of wanted to put that to rest in case anybody still felt like they wanted to say something like that. So anyway, so what I wanted to do real quick let's look at the patina on this as well. It's starting to develop this really cool, like patina where my fingers aren't really rubbing it off right here in the middle. So you can kind of see where there's a combination of like the buttons and the airflow doing whatever it does to patina. And I'm kind of torn. We are going to polish the buttons up, I guess is kind of why I wanted to talk about that patina for a second, because I'm not sure if I want to polish this back up, being that it's copper. Sorry, I bumped the camera, or this, yeah. Because it's copper, it's a little softer of a material, and it's actually probably could use a little bit of a wipe down to remove some of, like, you know, my finger grease, because I've been spinning on this, but it's a little bit softer of a material for the copper, so you get copper, see? Oh my god, we got 15 minutes in, we didn't even say copper, see? But the copper, yeah, see? It starts to get a little bit of patina, but it's a softer metal, see? Yeah, so you're gonna see those scratches develop. Yeah, Bugsy sees those scratches, don't you, Bugsy? Yeah, I see the scratches, boss. So I think that's part of what's going on in here, but I kind of like the idea of letting some patina develop, so I may end up polishing this back down, I'm not sure. But I get asked this question a lot, and I did a video on it, but I want to we'll revisit this here real quick. It's been a while since I did a video, so I'm sure you guys won't mind a longer video. So here's my old microfiber cloth. You can see I've polished quite a bit with this thing, and I've actually tried to rinse the stuff out. You can see my fingerprints where I do it up. So with polishing these buttons, I like to put them together. It just gives me a little bit more to grab onto. And we're gonna try not to hit the Ohana that's spinning, which is going about 8 minutes so far. Oh, sorry. So we're just putting a little dab on there, nothing crazy. So it's gonna be tough because I want to polish with this hand. But yeah, so now I'm just kind of, I've got just a little bit on there, a microfiber cloth, and then we're just gonna get in there and rub it. And rub it. Now I'm just doing the top. For me, I want to see if like you know, what kind of patina action happens on the side here. My whole table's shaking, but I shouldn't be bumping the camera. So, and it's a little bit elbow grease. I'm pushing kind of hard in here. I'm gonna get some blackness on my fingers, but that's okay. And again, it's not anything special. Oops, that definitely bumped the camera. And then I'll just take this cloth just so I have a nice clean spot to wipe it off. I usually wipe it off on this, but I don't want to be fussed with trying to find a clean spot. But look at that. Flitz metal polish. Just to see. That's what it looked like. That's what it looks like now. And while we're polishing this, can we take a minute to just talk about how much I dig these buttons? So if you go back and look at my video where I bumped the camera again, if you look at my video where I talk about, it's one of the Fidget HQ ones. I forget what I was talking about, but anyway, so these are the Kong buttons that are some of my favorite stock buttons. And then I kind of was talking about they're on this here, the XL Kongs, how they don't really feel like XL versions of the Kong. They just feel a little different. I also kind of talk about the cupolas here from the Atrium, but not quite enough of a dish. And then on the Ohana, I mentioned the aluminum buttons on there because they were that shape. They were almost basically like an XL Kong. So these are basically the same buttons, and these are probably my favorite buttons comfort-wise. So I think one of the biggest criticisms WooSah got for a while, and why everybody was so hesitant to jump on board, was they didn't like the chunky buttons. They didn't like the buttons that had the WooSah on them. People just had a lot to say about those buttons. And WooSah's done a lot with their buttons since then, but I think this is where they've really, really nailed it. These buttons are so comfortable. They've got just a nice dish, offers a lot of grip. This is definitely a deep dish situation. And it's just a great, 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 great button. So I'm very, very pleased with these buttons. Did I put the cap back on my Flitz? I did not. So Flitz metal polish, you can get this on Amazon. I've put links up before. But yeah, Flitz. It's supposed to help with patina. I don't know if it really does. I think it does a little bit for sure. I can feel pretty confident saying that. But now this is how we do selfies in your Voda. You can see my iPhone there. Anyway. Now, as with all WooSahs, or almost all, this is some criticism that they've gotten as well. They use this O-ring retention system. So that basically that means you've got offset buttons, so you can't easily put other buttons in there. But if you notice on the Ohana, I do have the XL Kong buttons. And the way I do that is Fidget HQ has a lot of their buttons now come with this little spacer. So you can use them with like press fit style bearings, right? So they kind of have this little retention or a little recessed ring, and you can kind of put that retention ring on there. So you can put just one of those on on a button. So you don't put them on both sides because you only have to offset one side, but you can just put them on there, and then you can rock a lot of buttons on your WooSahs. So it's not impossible to get other buttons on these guys. My fingers are gonna be black, sorry about that. Holy cow, internet, we're 20 minutes in. This guy's been spinning for a little over 12 minutes. And we haven't even really talked about Fidget Ability with this. So if you're sticking with me, appreciate it. Man, the Fidget Ability on this is ridiculous. So I'm a sucker for polish. I like the way polished metal feels. I like the way it feels smooth everywhere. And this is just so rounded everywhere. Every part of this is just a joy to... It doesn't matter where your finger lands, you're happy. In a very soothing way. So this might be the most WooSah to date. There's something soothing about water. There's something soothing about a nice smooth polish. You can spin this fast, and it doesn't matter how you slow it down, it feels nice. It's just a very kind of relaxing comfort. Doesn't matter where you catch it, where you stop it. Being that it's kind of rounded, your finger is always pushed into a perfect position to spin on. Whether that's between here, whether that's on the outside of the arm. And I can stop it wherever I want. If I want to get it in the middle, I haven't practiced this, but I'm going to do this every time. Now I'm going to get on the outside. It's just rounded in such a way that I can, every time. Every time. Didn't even practice, in the middle. It's just positioned in such a way that you can just get on it however you want. It feels amazing. I think we started to talk about price, so we're going to come back to price. I want to see if there's anything more to say about the Fidget Ability. Whether I'm doing one-handed, two-handed spins. Now this is something that I feel this is something I should enjoy spinning slower more than I do. It feels like it's so rounded and so smooth. You know, I've mentioned it with, oh, I better have that up here. Yeah, here it is. So we're going to want to talk about this. I feel like I should enjoy slow fidgeting with this more than I do, but it is fine for slow fidgeting. It feels nice, but I still want to, it's just so comfortable to, whoops, to hit your camera. It's so comfortable just to jam on. I don't remember what it was. My little timer is right here under my index finger. It was 8 minutes and something when we started this, so we're at least over 14 minutes on that Ohana spinning back there. Yeah, so the slow fidgeting with this, I feel like I should enjoy more, but I shouldn't say I don't enjoy it, but I just find it so enjoyable just to hit it hard. Yeah, but any way you want to fidget with it. And it's got a very interesting, so the Chakra is kind of known, and as are the Namastes, for having this very distinct, let me see if I can show you the pattern. See this little zigzag, little kind of pattern we're getting there. I've got kind of some bright light, so I'm getting other lighting going on. These are also the flat buttons on here that I kind of mentioned I really like, but the extra deep dish on the deep dish, yeah, or see this. It's kind of a very distinct pattern, especially with the Chakra, but also with the Namastes that you get. This sort of like doubles up on that. See that? And if we get it, see if I can get it far enough. It's going to be more on this side here. You can get this extra, yeah, you get this extra line in it. Look at that. Looks so good, and that's exactly what it looks like in person. Just any way you turn this, the reflection, the way it plays with the light, being that it kind of does dish in, you do get this feeling, oh, look at the water effect. You get this kind of like scooped dish feeling. It's not really translating to the camera so much, but you've got these flat surfaces in here. So up into here, you get kind of a flat, and then from there out, it angles up, so it kind of looks like it's a dish with like a little flat plane in the middle. Let's see if we can kind of show that off. Almost right there, you kind of see it a little bit, but you're not really getting the perspective eye on where it kind of looks like a dish going in. But you can almost get it kind of flat if we turn it from the side. Let's see if I can get the... I can't really turn the camera to get it at an angle, but you kind of get that same zigzag kind of pattern, but you get some depth to it. So it's just really a joy to look at in different light. So anyway, let's stop gushing about it a little bit. Fidget Ability is off the chain. in my video almost a year ago, I talked about this being the most fidgetable, and there is certainly a certain amount of fidget ability that this still maintains, but I think like this may be kind of taken point on that statement. Let's have another sip, shall we? Oh, this stopped. I didn't notice when it stopped, but we went over 14 minutes on not even the greatest spin. The rubber band on the outside, if I didn't mention, just helps get some grip to get a good spin, like if you're really trying to go for spin time. So that wasn't even a super powerful spin. But let's talk about the cocoon for a second to this guy. I don't know the prices of the cocoon off the top of my head, but I think they are in the $180 range. And I bring that up because there were a couple of statements made somewhere, and I kind of wanted to, I think I brought it up where I referenced the cocoon, where people line up for the cocoon and you don't hear anybody saying anything about the cost of the cocoon versus the machining. They're just in demand. Everybody wants one. Everybody has to have one. From a machining perspective, there is definitely something going on, and these are excellently machined. I don't want to take anything away from this. But just for me, this is in the same price range as the Voda, and from a what am I looking for? From a machining standpoint, from a technical standpoint, I would imagine that this has to be harder to machine than this. There has to be more involved in making this. I find the buttons on this extremely satisfying. I find the fidgeting on this extremely satisfying, and people don't seem to bat an eye at the price of these guys. I think with what we've come to expect from WooSah, and I think probably how a lot of people look at him is, WooSah, I don't think it's ever really been taken seriously by the community other than the people that seem like they're fans, and why I think we're, a lot of the WooSah family is so rabid about WooSah. Like, we're like that because we're kind of a little disappointed, I think, that the rest of the community hasn't really kind of like realized, like, it's a silly kind of a name, and it's a silly company, and there's a lot of fun involved, but at the end of the day, they make some serious spinners. And this is, I think, their most serious one to date. So I think if you're, you're in the market and you're getting like $40, $50 spinners, or you're just collecting a couple, or you're not like real serious, like, you can balk at the price of this guy. This is $180 for the copper, see, $199, or basically $200 for the titanium, and I want to say $160 for the stainless steel. But yeah, I kind of wanted to just talk about that price point because this is one that I feel like people should be lining up for. I feel like this should be something where the drops are as crazy for this as they are for this. It is that good. It does feel that good. They're definitely very different spinners, but just that, like, the hype around this guy seems to then dictate that the price is no longer an issue because there's so much hype. There's so much hype, so people are going to pay what they need to pay, and you get it on the drop. You don't care about spending $180 when it's like, I got like 2 seconds to be able to check out if I'm lucky to get one of those things. Where the WooSah, it's not the case. I think he's actually, I'm 90% sure he's opening up a 3rd run pre-order right now. Look at that. At 5 p.m. Pacific time today, the 21st. So I'm hoping to upload this on the 21st. But yeah, it's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern. You can start doing the pre-order for this. So I'm not sure if he's doing like a prepay kind of a pre-order where you can pay, especially for WooSah, he wants to make it as affordable as possible for people. So he was giving an option where you basically could pay, I think, like 100. You pay 100 later, I think is how he did it last time, and you paid whatever the rest of it was now. So for this, I'd pay 80 today, and then when he's ready to ship it, you would pay the next 100. I'm not sure how long the lead time was. Last time it was, look at the light on that, would you? The last time it was about I want to say around a month. So, but it's so worth it. Let's also talk real quick. This was 180, right? People, because of all the drama around Last Room Standing, I think these go for 160 now, but with all the drama with Last Room Standing, people kind of like, had a little bit of an issue with the price point, but that was never an issue before. So I just kind of want to put it in perspective. The Trillium, right? The Trillium. Look at the machining on the Trillium. Anyway, we don't need to go on and on. This is worth the price. And I just kind of wanted to justify it because I feel like you shouldn't have to justify it, but with WooSah, it kind of seems like I really want to take the time to put that out there. So. We love what's happening with the Branch family over there, and all the fans and all the people that really make WooSah a thing. It's really the community that's over there. It's funny. I've kind of been, even when I was really in it, I would do a couple reviews and I would post and chat things a little bit, but I would never say I was like a huge contributor to the community over there. I kind of hung around in the back a little bit and posted here and there. I've been a little more active lately, but you know, seeing like the, you know, the McGahee clan, you know, Horace and Paula and all those guys and the Chris's, Chris DeRoche and yeah, there's a, like, it seems actually there's a lot of Chris's in the WooSah group. Chris Pena, Chris. Oh, there's one other one I'm forgetting. Chris Darnell, Lady Chris. Who I think a lot of people were surprised to find out that she was a lady, but I don't think went out of her way to say like I'm a lady. And her profile pic, I think, has been at one point like shooting a rifle and then skiing with like a full mask on, like, so you couldn't really tell. But yeah, Lady Chris, or Lady C, I think she goes by over there. But also, you know, I'm really, you know, Sherry over there. It's funny to see how, you know, involved she was. I remember when she kind of first joined the group and was kind of introduced, and now she's like one of their biggest followers and like in there all the time. So it's just, that's kind of what happens with WooSah. You buy WooSah, you're part of the family. So anyway, oh, we didn't really talk, but balance is on point. Let's see if we can do that here. 30 minutes. Those of you that have been waiting for this video are going to be happy with this. Look at that, would you? Would you look at it? You probably not to know if you look at it. Old Ed Bassmaster. So, popper, see? I don't think we got anything else to say. We don't want to just drone on and on about it. But yeah, so good. So pleased with this. Look at it. Oh, I can't stop spinning it and looking at it in my camera. You guys don't mind, do you? See that? Oh, there we go. That's, see that double? You get the double and then you get this line on the outside. So much fluting and curves, and what did he call it? Hang on. Flute and flare. Each curve, flute and flare. Flare and flute. Fluty flare. Flare flute. Fluty flakes. Remember Fluty Flakes? Doug Fluties, Fluty Flakes to charity. Buffalo Bills, what's up? All right. Anyway. Oh, that was the one I was trying to show you. See that at that profile? So much fun. Anyway, internet. If you're serious into spinners, this is one you gotta have. 2 enthusiastic thumbs up. 2 really bent, like, awkward thumbs up for y'all, internet. All right, we're going to leave it at that, internet. We're going to give you some kisses. We're going to give the Branch family some kisses. The internet family some kisses. Love y'all. Peace. Kisses. Oh, maybe we'll fade it out like this. Try not to destroy my camera when I do it.